Hey, 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 oh, oh. Ay, hey, hey, he, hoo. Ay, hey, 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 ho. Ahi, oh, ho, oh, ho.
Viejo, siembro pichu, known to many as black beans, underneath the waxing moon, following nights of clear skies and thickening stars. I am in my bohio, my home and place of belonging in Hohol Ding in Saninghui territory. I am a visitor on this land. We the Taíno are people of the Yucca, honoring Yucahu Bagua Mauro Koti as the semi of creation. They brought life to the Bagua, the Caribbean Sea. They govern the Yucca, and they are responsible for our agriculture, all that which grows. Me voy cabulando with Yucahu, but we are both learning to listen to the rhythms of this land. Cacique Francisco Panchito Ramírez Rojas, a cacique from la ranchería en Caridad de los Indios, Guantánamo, Cuba, describes cábula as our communication with nature. He says, my father and all the old people, they would study the sky. If there were many stars, they would say, well, tomorrow we plant beans and corn. Look how the stars thicken. My own abuelo, Cesar Rojas, was from Punta Alegre in Ciego de Ávila, part of a community of a nuclear group of the Gran Family de Indios en Cuba. Dacto Kama Orokoti Taíno descendiente Guajiro hasta Niaiki Ota Fentanaiki. Taktoka Oria Murong Alukama We Cuba. Ota Cape Cod Ululikat ke Wampanog. Ota Hohol Ting Alulikat ke Saninghui. Takhime wa Itpa Oria ke. I am a Cuban Taíno descendant Guajiro Mauro Poti, two-spirit person. I am also of French and Spanish descent. I am both white and indigenous. I am not a member nor affiliated with any tribe, but hold ancestral ties to the Taíno. I am from Morong in Camagüey, Cuba, and I am also from the lands of the Wampanoag, as well as Hoholding on the lands of the Sininghui. All of these lands have birthed me and formed my identity throughout my life. While some of the oral traditions and knowings of our Taíno Indio culture have been passed to me through my abuelo and my mama, I am a person as cruzado, a person of blended traditions, possessing a fragmented identity as a migrant indigenous person very far from their homeland and a guest on other indigenous lands. It is my responsibility to hold and perpetuate my culture that is cruzado in survivance and resurgence, while being responsible to the human and more than human communities on whose lands I reside and work as a guest. How do I materially enact this responsibility? As a person working at the intersection of Western institutions and indigenous communities, as a scholar located between worlds and traditions, as a person across the world from their homeland, displaced and holding a fragmented identity. To consider a worldview of relationality, reciprocity, and responsibility, I defer to and invest in the methodology of cábula, an action of communication with nature, rooted in listening to and respect for all living things, all things that grow, and then acting in accordance with our interconnectivity. Cábula, in an academic context, is indigenism, bringing my own knowing with me in order to create relationship with different indigenous peoples and other colonized peoples. It is also, as posited by Gloria and Saltua, honoring the Koyol Shakwi imperative, the act of calling back those pieces of the self, soul, that have been dispersed or lost, the act of mourning the losses that haunt us. This allows us to collectively reclaim relationships, stories, and ways of knowing, where the act of storytelling is a reorientation and recreation of reality. To eat the story of the elders is to engage seeds and food landscapes as storytellers and elders themselves. The seed encapsulates the cycle of being outside of the confines of time. Like the best time travelers, seeds are storytellers. Within a seed is the generational, genetic, and experiential memory tracing back to time immemorial, a way which to call back knowledges that are fragmented or sleeping. Wild plants have co-evolved with humans for millions of years. These seeds, while place-specific, also traveled through trade and migration and their own agency throughout Abiyala and Turtle Island. Seeds have long memories of indigenous food sovereignty and solidarity. Within the seed, there is food, possibility, assurance, relationship, and futurity to the communities that are in relational care with the seed. To eat the landscape, to eat seeds that were once planted by our ancestors, to be storied into dishes of our family table, is a fundamental cultural continuation and forms our connection to the world, as well as deep encoded libraries of cultural and ecological knowledge. As Enrique Salmon has said, eating is not only a political act, it is also a cultural act that reaffirms one's identity and worldview. Though we the Taíno are people of the Yucca, the stories from my elders that I consumed were most often through pichu. To eat pichu is to connect to my abuela's hands that sewed the beans into the hems of our clothing as we emigrated to lands outside of relationship with us. To eat pichu is to remember how she taught me to sew them under the light of the waxing moon in the spring. It is to remember the perfectly balanced dish I ate every day of my childhood with comino and ají, along with the stories I would hear between my mama and my abuela. To eat pichu is to defy borders, to honor my ancestors who were people of the canoe, traveling around the bagua with their seeds so that they may thrive in different climes. To eat pichu is to honor our semi of creation and agriculture, to honor the call of the land of cábula. To eat pichu is to honor them as a relative, as a part of my own body, and my body as indivisible from the land, a cuerpo territorio. Regeneration of indigenous food sovereignty, food landscapes, and thus ourselves and our communities, however cruzal they may be, requires a reorientation to what regeneration means. We must address the underlying epistemologies and worldviews of this work, while intentionally contravening and resisting attempted colonial cosmological impositions, including borders. How do we conduct research that is rooted in indigenous cosmologies, such as cábula? How do we enact indigenous cosmologies through the revaluing of our lands and relatives?